Greetings, it's Iain from RTL here. Welcome to another week, the last full week before Christmas. Hope you all had a good weekend. Unfortunately, the weather is pretty grim again. It's a little dark, but we are getting towards the shortest day. So today we're going to continue on with the story of Van Morrison. We have reached the 1970s. It was a pretty good decade for Van Morrison. A fine bunch of albums. Some I like all these, but we all have our favourites. So there's not really a bad album amongst this bunch. So we got 9 to look at today. So coming in at number 9, we have his 8th studio album that was released in 1974, and it's called Veedon Fleece. Lots of people play on here, so we'll just crack on with the tracks. So the first track is called Fair Play. Love the piano in this. It's a really nice vocal from Van. It's a gentle sort of track, but it goes on about, I'd say, a minute, 2 minutes longer. But it's still a good track. Then we have Lyndon Arland Stole the Highlights. It's a short song. It's a lovely track, lovely vocal. Excellent track there. Who Was That Masked Man? The bass on this is terrific. Nice guitar and strings on that one as well. Streets of Arklow. Nice and gentle. I love the whistle in this as well. It really adds to it. You Don't Pull No Punches, but You Don't Push the River. It's quite a long song. I think it just needs to be a little bit shorter, and there's a bit where it sort of repeats itself too much. So it's not my favourite on the album. My favourite album track on this album is Bulbs. I love this sort of upbeat drumming on this. It's an excellent track. Up next is Cul-de-sac. Love the guitar on this. It's got a very simple drum beat. Pretty good. Comfort You, second favourite track on here. I love the big bass line, especially at the beginning, and that last bit of the guitar on this is excellent. Come Here My Love, simple acoustic song. Great vocal from Van Morrison. And the last track on this one is Country Fair. It's got that real Celtic feel to this. It just goes on a little bit long, and it repeats itself again. I know a lot of people love this album, but I've never been a great lover of it in respect. Some outstanding songs on this, but some of them go on a little bit longer than they should. But I still give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 8, this is his 6th album. It was released in 1972, and it's called St. Dominic's Preview. First track is one of my favourite tracks by Van Morrison, and it was also a hit for Dexys Midnight Runners, so you know what it is. It's Jackie Wilson Said. Love this. Brilliant track, and what I like about it, when Dexys did it, they did it close to the big original. Brilliant track. Just one of my favourite tracks by Van Morrison, period. Up next is Gypsy. Another good track. I love this gentle upbeat in this. Keeps the song going well. Nice song. I Will Be There. Nice bluesy sort of number. Nice saxophone on this, and a great vocal from Van on that. Terrific track. Listen to the Line. Now this is one of the long ones. It's 11 minutes long. It flows really well, and it's well structured, and it goes in different phases, and that's why I like it. It's not on the same note all the way through. Then we have St. Dominic's Preview. I love the piano in this and the saxophone. They really complement each other on this track. Some great drumming on this as well. Redwood Tree is the next track. Solid track. Love the saxophone and the piano again, and the little bits of guitars in it is very good as well. Almost Independence Day. One of the longer tracks. I just like how this one builds up as time goes on. Again, it flows well, and it doesn't seem 10 minutes. And that's the last track. A pretty solid album here. Even the long tracks are good. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. 2. Okay, coming in at number 7, the 9th album by Van. Released in 1977, and it's called A Period of Transition. Once again, we've got so many people on here, we'll be here all day telling you who played on it. So we've got the first track, You've Got to Make It Through the World. Certainly got that mid-70s groove to it. The saxophone work on this is terrific. It fills you up. Bit of horns on here, real groovy sort of track. A great vocal from Van on this one. Up next, The Eternal Kansas City. Very quirky lumber. I love the backing vocals on it. It's got this sort of gospel-y feel to it. It's really is good. Then we have Flamingo's Fly. Love the funkiness of this. It's got a little bit of a shuffle to it as well. Excellent track. Heavy connection, solid track, very consistent. And the last track is my favourite track on here. It's called Cold Wind in August. Atmospheric track. One of the best vocals on here from Van Morrison. And that lovely piano and guitar complementation and their interplay. Pretty solid album. I mean, the 70s, they were pretty constant. So there's some great tracks on here. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.4. Coming in at number 6 then, the 4th album released in 1970. It's His Band and the Street Choir, and this is also referred to as Street Choir. Lots of people on here again. First track on here is Domino. I love this track. My favourite on here. It was a big hit for him, especially in America. Just a fantastic track. What a track to start the album. Up next is Crazy Face. I love this track for the saxophone and the quirky keyboards, and then some piano comes in. It really, really adds to that one. And Give Me a Kiss, one of those simple tracks. Simple guitar, simple bass. You don't, sometimes less is more, and it works on that track. I've Been Working, another great track. Some fantastic percussion work on this. Really good track. Call Me Up in Dreamland. Good vocal from good vocal from Van on this. Excellent track. I'll Be Your Lover Too. One of the tracks I don't like. It's a little bit what I call lackluster. It's not got the same zing as some of the other tracks. Blue Monday. Love the backing vocals on this. A great bass line to guide the song along. Very quirky. Virgo Clowns. I just love the simplicity of this. It's got some lovely acoustic guitar on this. Really works well. Then we have Gypsy Queen. I love the horns on this. Can't beat a bit of horns. Really adds to the track. And my favourite track off this album is Sweet Janie. It's a bluesy rock track. One of the shorter tracks, but it really pulls some punch. Then we have If I Ever Needed Someone. Great drumming on this, and I love the gentleness of that saxophone, and the backing vocals really complement Van's vocals. Street Choir, for the sort of title track as such, it's not very, it's a little bit dreary. I thought he could have done a little bit more with this, unfortunately. I like this album, even it's really good. It's got some great tracks on it, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 5. This is the 7th album, and it was released in 1973, and it's Hard Nose the Highway. Lots of people on here, so the first track is Snow in San Analsmo. It's got a little bit of choral in here, a little bit of a Latino feel to it. Really interesting track. Good mixture of different types of genres. Warm Love, solid track again. Another fine vocal. Hard Nose the Highway, sorry. Good track. Good vocal from Van, one of his strongest ones on this album. Wild Children comes left. The highlight for me is the piano playing all the way through. It is such greatness, and it really flows, and it goes in little moods. Very, very good. The Great Deception. Some nice guitar work on this. Another fine vocal. Then we have Being Green, my favourite track on here. It's a jazzy blues number written by Joe Rapasso. It's got a great bass line. The melody to this song is just good. Autumn Song. This is one of the long tracks that is a little bit too long. A couple of minutes shorter, and this would have been a lot better. But it's still a half decent track. Purple Heather, which is a traditional folk song. I've heard this a few times, and this is probably one of the best versions I've heard. Another very solid album. Got some good tracks on it. The Autumn Song is a little bit too long, but it doesn't spoil it that much. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, coming in at number 4, his 11th studio album from August 1979, and it's called Into the Music. This opens up with another of his most popular songs, Bright Side of the Road. I love this track, but it's not my favourite on the album. I think it was a big popular song in 1979. For Full Force Gale, really groovy track, a fine vocal again from Van Morrison. Just a solid track. Stepping Out Queen, some great violin playing on here, really adds to the track, gives it that sort of Celtic feel. And then we have Troubadours. Again, the violin plays a prominent part in this track, and it really again adds to it. Rolling Hills is a fantastic song. It's sort of them sitting in a bar at an open mic session with a glass of your favourite tipple. Really is a nice song. Then we have You Make Me Feel So Free. Got everything I like. The saxophone on this is great. The piano works. Another really strong track. Angel or You, or Angel Le Oi, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It's a nice country sort of song, this is, and it's got a terrific bass line in it. Then we have And the Healing Has Begun. Some lovely violin in this. It's nearly 8 minutes long, this track, but that violin does sort of break it up and give it a little bit more structure. It's All in the Game. It's not a big fan of this song. It's really dull. I've heard there's lots of versions of it, and it's not very good for me. But my favourite track on here is You Know What They're Writing About. Favourite, powerful vocal from Van, good composition, nice arrangement. The combination of the horns and violins, and it is Van's best vocal on the album. I really like this album. There's quite a lot of upbeat tunes. I like the use of horns and violin and everything. It really is an excellent album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.7. Okay, coming in at number 3 then, the 10th album, released in 1978, and it's called Wavelength. Again, lots of people play on this. So the first track is Kingdom Hall. Love this track. One of them rockers. I've heard live versions of this, and it's super as a live track as well. Checking it out. Nice country sort of feel. The keyboard really makes it. It gives it a little bit of depth and texture. Nartilla, or Nartilla. A little bit different. It's got a different beat to it, and it actually works. Very good track. Venice, USA. Funky little bass line. I like this track. It's got a real groove to it. Another fine vocal, of course. Lifetimes. Yeah, this one's a little bit wishy-washy. Not my favourite track on the album. Probably the weakest one on this one. Then we have my favourite track, and it's the title track, Wavelength. One of the great rockers from Van. One of the most rockiest tracks I think he done. Some really good riffs. A little bit of a great bass line as well. Santa Fe and Beautiful Obsession. Jackie DeShannon and Van Morrison. Very good. The Santa Fe is nice and gentle, and the Beautiful Deception is a little bit more upbeat. Hungry for Your Love. Nice gentle track. Really nice melody on this. Nice. Just a great track. Take it where you find it. A little bit too long. The middle bit could have been cut out. That instrumental bit goes on a little bit, but the structure of the song is pretty good on the whole. Last track on the album as well. A little bit of change of direction for Van here, but I like, and I think it worked. Really good album from top to bottom. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 2. Released in January 1970. His third album, and it is Moondance. Lots of people on here again. So the first track is my second favourite track on this, and it's called And It Stoned Me. A fine vocal from Van. I love the drumming on this. It's got such a catchy beat. And then we have my favourite track ever by Van Morrison, and it's the brilliant Moondance. I love this. It's so jazzy. It's a great vocal. The drumming really adds to it, and of course this was featured in the movie American Werewolf in London. That's a really good track. Crazy Love comes next. Another fine track. It's a lovely, gentle track, and the bass line is really moving. Caravan, another fantastic track. Love the bass line on this. Some lovely horns in this. Then we get Into the Mystique. Guitar is really good, and then you get this gentle acoustic guitar as well. That little keyboard in this really gives it an extra bit of depth. Come Running is the next track. One of these tracks that's got piano and saxophone. It's quite short, but it really works. These Dreams of You, another favourite track on here. It's got a boogie shuffle feel to it. Another fantastic vocal from Van. Brand New Day, what a relaxing track. It's that bass line, it really chills you out. The piano just is twinkly, and we've got a great vocal as well. Everyone is the next track. Got some wonderful flute on this, really adds to the track. Glad Tidings. It's got that bit of the last track feeling to it, but it's still a nice tune. There's no filler on here. It's an absolute top drawer album, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.2. But my favourite album from the 70s by Van Morrison is his fifth one from 1971, and it's Tupelo Honey. Lots of people on here as well. So the first track is an absolute belter, Wild Night. I love the bass line. If you listen to this carefully, that bass line is really important to this song. It really is the underbelly of the song. Straight to Your Heart Like a Cannonball. This has got a very 60s pop feel to it, and I really like it. It's a fine vocal from Van on this. Old Woodstock, probably one of my favourite ballad type songs from Van Morrison, and I think it's all to do with his wonderful voice and the piano work on this. It just absolutely is brilliant. Starting a New Life, my second favourite track on here. Once again, it's one of these very simple arrangements with a lovely lot of guitar on it. You're My One, and it's quite a country song. It's got a nice bass line and piano to it. Really works well. And then we got my favourite track, the title track, Tupelo Honey. I love this because it's got one of the best guitar solos on a Van Morrison album. High hitting cymbals, it's really crisp sound. I really love it. Then I Wanna Rue You, which is a Scottish song, very quirky. It's got that sort of Scottish country feel to it. I like that song. When That Evening Sun Goes Down, beautiful piano, simplicity at its best, simple drum beat. Moonshine Whiskey, fantastic track to end the album with. One of the great vocals on this album. Absolutely terrific track to end the album. I think this is one of the best produced albums of the 70s from Van. It's got lots of great tracks. His voice was immaculate on this album, and it's got so many great tracks on it. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.4. So there we go, a brilliant decade for Van. So next week we will look at the 80s, another strong decade for Van Morrison. Okay, coming up next is a perfect side corker today. It is Jean-Michel Jarre's Oxygen. Tough one again, so join me for that. Bye for now.